welcome to Mann's Model Moments and another Tuesday talk. So today I actually want to talk about Christmas. Or rather, I want to talk about how I don't want to talk about Christmas. Because back in September, almost August, hot weather still with us, our local shops started promoting and selling Christmas stuff. Which, let's face it, is ludicrous. So a whole 3 months, a whole quarter before the season has actually started. And I want to preface this by saying I love Christmas. I think it's a magical time of the year, especially if you've got children. It's a time for family. It kind of, those images of sort of cozy nights in with crisp cold outside. Obviously different for viewers if you're in Australia or, other parts of the world, which flips it a little bit, but it's still a time for family, and there are lots of other religious festivals around that time, and those are the same, right? It's a time for gathering together, time for being together, showing your love for people. But what makes it special for me, what made it special as a child, is it's this one event, this big event each year. And, in December, you kind of start getting the inklings of it. A couple of weeks it builds, and then there's this big event. I think the increased commercialisation of Christmas has led to now it's just another event. This also goes with the commercialisation of every other, possible event that you could have. We've got Halloween, we've got Guy Fawkes here in the UK, there's Easter, there's Mother's Day, there's Father's Day, people's birthdays, you've got various celebration days for various groups or people, and it just becomes a melange of the same sort of stuff. And it's all just to push selling things. And that really, for me, massively detracts from the magic of these sorts of occasions. Why is your birthday special? Why is Christmas special? Because they are, rare events. They happen once a year. So once every 365 days, you might get a little bit of excitement build up before it. But to be going a quarter away from the event and selling stuff in the shops, really to me just massively detracts from the whole thing. And trust me, I am getting to a model related piece here. And that is that, I think it was yesterday, I saw something pop up on my feed, and it was a new video from Italeri. And I thought, oh great, let's see what they got. And I'll play it, and I'll link it as well. But I won't play the whole thing, I don't want to get copyright striked, but I'll play elements of it, and you can see what I mean. And it's like, it's just bizarre. So you can see this is a Christmas video released 2 whole months before Christmas from a model company. And the majority of the models they show aren't new, right? They are old Eschi toolings. The Lancia is new, which is nice. But in terms of drumming up excitement for a product, for me, this is so wide of the mark, it's unbelievable. Whether it was released in error, I don't know. But the fact is, it's out there. People, have looked at it. Not many people, because Italeri don't have that many followers on their website. But it's just struck me as utterly bizarre. And for me, I think people are sick and tired of this kind of relentless marketing. We see it everywhere. We see it in everything. You see adverts on YouTube. You see adverts on Amazon Prime, which I really object to. I think the idea of bringing adverts into a platform that you've already paid a premium subscription for is disgraceful, and I encourage anybody to cancel their Prime subscription with that. It's not like they're short of change when they're spending $1 billion on passion projects like disgracing the memory of Tolkien with Rings of Power. Different aside there. And I think of all the model companies, Airfix is probably the worst at this in terms of overhyping releases, which is understandable. I get it, and they're trying to go for a younger demographic, but that's at the expense of people who are miserable old buggers like us, who are a bit jaded with all of this, kind of very meant to be for a younger generation marketing. I don't know whether it works. I think it's like older executives' idea of what works for younger people, but that's by the by. However, I do think Airfix do a good thing in that they do follow through on some of their possible promises. So I put Airfix probably in the middle, like a 5 out of 10 on the marketing spam/scam scale, because at Telford, everybody knows there will be a release at Telford. Airfix are very good about keeping those secrets. In fact, I think Airfix are too good at keeping those secrets. We recently had the Mosquito, the 172nd Mosquito re-release with new parts, so they've modified it, they corrected some of the former errors in the Bombay area, and released that, and I think that's a good solid release. Did it warrant the secrecy and stuff that was around it? Not really. They did tell retailers a couple of days early. That was a mistake, but guess what? None of the retailers actually leaked that information, because retailers don't do that kind of thing. It's this kind of weird idea that they can't be trusted somehow. I think Games Workshop are probably the best in this area. I think they score a 1 on the spam/scam scale, because they'll announce something and it's going to come in a couple of months. It's usually a fairly tight release window. They inform traders well ahead of time, usually about a week or 2 weeks. You can buy the stock, you can have it in your store, you just can't actually physically sell it to the public. You can pre-sell it online, people can order it, you just can't actually exchange the goods until the embargo. Now that shows trust in a network and a retailer network, and I wish Airfix and Hornby would get to that stage rather than this strange paranoia. If a retailer reneges on that, you cut them out. You give them a warning, you reduce their discount, you do whatever it takes, you put them to the bottom of the list on distribution because they can't be trusted. And then you basically train your retailers that if you do good things for the network, if you're trustworthy and stuff, we trust you, you trust them, and then that works well, they order more, blah, 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 blah. As I said, distribution management is very easy. It's all about trust. And Airfix don't seem to extend that trust. It's very one way with Hornby. So I think they would do better doing that, but again, slight bit of an aside. But Telford, we know we're going to get something. It's hopefully a new tool. As many people have said, a 172nd scale Halifax or 148 scale Tornado would be great, really welcomed. I have no idea. Those would be my guesses if I had to, but I don't have a clue. However, there are companies that do really come through on this promise. And there are a couple I want to talk about, and they are at the top of the modelling pile. The first is Tamiya, depending on how you want to say it. And of course, they announced a 172nd scale Tomcat about a week or so ago. That's coming out in, I think, late November, early December, and it looks fantastic. I'll show some shots of it here. And it's fairly expensive. I think it's about £40. But the Tomcat's quite a big beast. This is a brand new tooling. It's kind of very much what you'd expect from Tamiya. So there hasn't been a massive build-up or hype to that. They've given it about a month, which I think is about right. And again, retailers can plan on that. So 172nd scale Tomcat, Tamiya, that's probably going to be fairly popular. What do I look at getting in, just before Christmas? Do I take pre-orders? They can plan for that. Whereas an announcement at Telford, for instance, from Airfix, I can't plan for. I have no idea what they're going to announce. There will be a mad rush afterwards to, either order it or not order it. I obviously won't be ordering a massive pre-order because I've been burnt by that one in the past. But even so, it does present retailers with an issue rather than an opportunity, like Games Workshop, Tamiya, and the last company I'm going to be talking about, ICM, give you. Now, I mentioned ICM in my last video, and there was a great response to that. Thank you guys. Valeria, got in touch as well afterwards. They'd seen it, and it's always good to know that your message is being heard. And there were a couple of odd little, like, oh, I don't like politics on your channel, I've unsubscribed. It's like, well, if you're really that fragile that you can't take somebody mentioning, support for an invaded nation, then I'm sorry, but I don't care. I would rather wear my heart on my sleeve. I think it was Dante, not the 9 levels of hell Dante, but it was Dante that said, there was a special level of hell reserved for those who sit by and do nothing while evil acts are committed. So, in a tiny, tiny way, I'm trying to act as much as I can in the Ukrainian conflict and stand up for what I believe is right, and that is the defence of a sovereign nation from an aggressive invader. Now, if you take that as political, it's not political, because Ukraine wasn't perfect before Russia invaded, Corruption has been a problem in Ukraine for a while. It's been coming down, but obviously it's not ideal. But it's working towards the right thing. And I think that's what you have to look at. You have to look at the intent, you don't look at a recovering alcoholic and say, he's a drinker, or used to be a drinker. He's getting better now, but, God, he could put it away. You don't focus on the past, you focus on where they are, So I think it's wrong to actually assume that just because I'm stating, support for the Ukraine, that I'm somehow some, I don't know, left-wing radical or something. I'm not. I hold fairly liberal conservative views generally. And I try to go on individual circumstance as it comes. So, again, a bit of an aside there. I didn't mean to go down into, talking about what my politics might be. But it's part of me, so I'm going to mention those things where it's relevant to us and the modelling community. And of course, it is relevant to us at the moment because ICM are a model company. They had fairly significant damage to their building from a near-miss missile strike from Russia. I think that's something that we should be thinking about. The fact that Miniart, for instance, another Ukrainian company, moved to Poland after the invasion because of that. So it does directly impact our hobby. And again, it sounds ridiculous to say it, but impacting our hobby is nothing like the impact on people's lives where their houses are being destroyed and, they're under the threat of missile and drone attack all the time. So again, I think a sense of scale and proportionality is due here. If you're rage quitting my channel because I've mentioned that I think it's wrong to invade a sovereign country and bomb their civilian infrastructure, I think you need to take a long, hard look at yourself rather than what channels you're subscribed to. Right. Anyway, again, don't want to get heavy and stuff, but speaking of that missile strike, we've had a post from ICM, which I think, again, really appeals to the Blitz spirit, especially for the Brits, but, other nations as well, where they basically said, look, we had a whole load of packaging damaged from this missile strike. We're not going to throw it away. We're going to put things in these boxes and put a sticker on saying this was damaged by Russian missile debris and sell it, which I think is absolutely perfect. I think there was a great response to that. People really want those, want the piece of history, want that piece of, they want to show their support and solidarity with ICM. And it's a bit like the keychains that they're making from, downed flankers and destroyed T-80s and 90s and 72s, where they're like made in Russia, recycled in Ukraine, which, I think it shows both part of the humour of the people and that, dogged spirit, that I think we all appreciate. So that's one part of ICM, but the other part, and bringing it full circle back around to Christmas, is we are going to have Christmas a little bit early from ICM, because they also shared a whole bunch of pictures on the new Hampton. The Hampton is coming. It will be coming in November, which is fantastic news to hear. It will be, or at least the initial test injection moulded frames, will be at the Hobby Company stand at Telford. And I'm going to show them here. They look pretty nice. I think it's fair to say they are equivalent to the Beaufort, to the Marauder, to the recent 217K in terms of the kind of interior detail that we're seeing. ICM kits are pitched at that intermediate / beginner advanced sort of level so that you can build a superb kit out of the box. So my unboxing build reviews are based around, using the base kit, not using extras. I don't want to kind of show what I'm capable of as a modeler. I want to show what the kit is capable, what you're getting in the box, and it's possible to make, without adding all of those pieces. Yes, I've done videos where I have done extra bits like the vintage classic Airfix Jaguar because it needs it to be able to complete it because of that mistake. But generally, I'm trying to build the kit as you get it. And ICM kits are based at that, you can make a really nice model. And if you just add a little bit more, if you put seatbelts in, if you can, put some wiring and stuff, you can elevate that to, starting to get into competition level quite easily. So that's the kind of level of kit that ICM generally produce. And I think the Hampton, as you can see from the photos, absolutely reflects that. And it's probably, I think, one of the most anticipated kits out there for a while. It's certainly, I think, one of the most pre-ordered kits in my web store that I've ever had. It's still available for pre-order. If you want to pre-order a Hampton from me, I'll put the link in the description below. And I know that when I get my personal copy, I'm going to pause all other projects. I'm just going to work on the build video of that and get it out as quickly as possible so that you guys can see my response to the kit that I had a small part in bringing to the market. For me, that is my early Christmas present, if you like, is the Hampton. I think it'll be great to see what Airfix announce at Telford. I think a lot of people see that as well as another sort of early Christmas present. Hopefully that will be available immediately after Telford and we won't have to wait until 2026 like we did with the Licensor. But on the other hand, it's nice to see what's coming. It's nice to have a little bit of notice, be able to save a little bit, but these surprise announcements are always welcome. The last pre-Christmas present we'll also be getting is, of course, the Revell 1/32 scale Meteor, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be available at Telford. So we'll have to have a look, but I've not seen anything on that on the social media sort of platforms and stuff, but I think it would be a big miss if they didn't manage to get it there. And of course, the other nice little sort of wrapping on the present, or like little icing on the cake from Revell, is that they are switching over to the flip-top boxes. So we do expect to see that Meteor in a flip-top box. We've seen a couple of other flip-top boxes, but we've not seen a general release of that yet. So, but again, coming up to Christmas, it would be great to see if Revell fully transition to that and get away from those hideous end-opening boxes, which are way too big for the contents inside them. Anyway, that's all I've got for this Tuesday talk. Thank you so much for joining me and listening to my thoughts on what's happening in the modelling world over the last week. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think we advertise for Christmas too early these days? And what are your thoughts on the upcoming releases that are coming into that Christmas period post-Telford? Are you looking to get any of these kits? Do you want a Hampton? Do you want a Tomcat? Let me know. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.
That's all for this instalment of Mann's Model Moments. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel for more like it, and share this video with others you think would also enjoy it. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and if you're feeling generous, then I also have a Patreon, which is absolutely the best way of helping me to grow the channel and produce more content like this. With that, I hope you have plenty of modelling moments of your own, and I look forward to welcoming you on the next video.